Hello and welcome to a special video, just reviewing something that I watched last night. So this film, this Manosphere film that many of you will have heard of, it's on Netflix, it's creating a bit of a stir, lots of people are talking about it. It's the latest Louis Theroux documentary where he dives into looking at all of this online influencer movement that seems to be very male dominated, which I'd never heard the expression Manosphere, I have to say, until this documentary came out. And it's got me thinking. I watched it last night. So you've got some of these lads who are deeply troubled when it comes to their attitude towards women, in particular, their attitude towards relationships, and this is where the phrase of toxic masculinity creates a problem for me, because if you stand up for what's right, if you push back, if you're a strong man, people will call you toxic, right? But equally, toxic masculinity does exist where it goes to the more extreme points. And some of these lads in there, you only have to watch it. You can see there's some quite, sinister attitudes towards certain things within there. But what I find really interesting, which is what I want to point out, is in one breath, they'll be saying something to do with relationships or to do with women, which is just, you can't really defend. But then on the next level, there's a clip in particular with Sneeko, where he then will talk about the fact Satanists run the world and really quite articulately explain how the power stays in the top 1%. So obviously Louis Theroux is a system as they come. So he's there denying absolutely everything, and any question of the system being rigged, he pushes back on because that's his job. He's a system stooge. However, I don't think it's an accident that the type of people that are being presented as anti-system, escape the matrix type people, also have a very dark side to them, which you can use, or people can use, to discredit the validity of everything that they may say. If you walked into a debate and said to people, I think the world's controlled because you've only got to look back through history, time and time again, money seems to go up to the top 1%. People are struggling. No one's lives seem to get better. People are taxed up to the hilt. Healthcare doesn't seem to be improving. Education is more indoctrination. Why do we keep getting brought into conflict when most people don't want conflict? All those things. Most people would go, okay, what I want to hear more then. What's your explanation? What's your theory? But then when that same person comes and says, actually, I've got like 10 wives and, I can sleep with whoever I want. Meanwhile, my girlfriend, my wife, she's not allowed to do that. And talks about, things like that. You're obviously there going, well, hang on a minute. Most people would then focus on that and ignore all that you may have said previously that actually may have some substance to it. And as a conspiracy theorist, shock, I can't help but think those two things are not unconnected. If you're going to try and manipulate or control an argument, control a narrative about a particular subject, it's a great way to do it if the faces and the voices that people see talking about the subject are easy to discredit. That's why I don't believe for a second that everyone that has come forward with accusations about Hollywood celebrities or accusations about people of fame and fortune and royalty and all of that, accusing them of certain behavior, is genuine. I do believe the system will put some people in there who are there to essentially muddy the waters, essentially discredit real victims of these people. It's a trick that's been used so many times. And if you only got to look at the world today, most people are struggling. There's a few people having a good time, but you go right across the world. I'm pretty well traveled, but there's still obviously many, many countries I've never been to. But just in the ones I have, most people are struggling to survive another day. Most people aren't having a great time. You look at large swathes of continents like Africa, Asia, South America, where poverty and deprivation is incredibly high. You then look at the West, where we're supposedly the pinnacle and so on. There's a lot of people really struggling. For me, it was obvious that eventually people were going to start asking some questions as to why the system continually seems to be designed and rigged against people. Why, no matter how hard do I try, do I never seem to get anywhere? Why, as soon as I do well for myself, right, they want to tax that away. How does that work? I've had enough. I want some answers. Well, what if it was from the very beginning that those answers, or certainly some of them, were going to be given by people that are controlled by you in the first place? You know, whenever the people want a hero, we'll gladly give them one. I'm especially talking about the influencers that seem to have such an impact on young people, because young people are obviously the adults of tomorrow when this control system plans to be fully fledged. So if you get the young minds, that's why young minds are so attacked by social media, you're going to get the next generation of adults. So these influencers that target young kids, you know, 13, 14, 15-year-old boys, getting them thinking a certain way. For me, that's not done by accident. This is not an organic movement where a few lads thought, we've got an opportunity here. Let's go and earn a few quid. A handful of them, maybe that is their modus operandi. Maybe that is it. However, I do believe this feels coordinated to me. It really does. Because we know the way the human mind works and the way the human um, psychology works, people don't take what they like and leave the rest. People do throw the baby out with the bathwater. So if somebody says something that you think is of interest and then they say something else that you don't, most people will just ignore everything that person has said, and it discredits the good things they said. So by creating these influencers that have so many skeletons in the closet, they have so many things that people can use to hammer them with. The things that they might be saying that you go, hang on a minute, actually, that makes some sense there. To most people, they're gone. And me and my wife sat and watched this film last night, and we sat watching a particular interview throughout it, and you're going, oh God, what an idiot. Actually, I agree. What he said there makes a lot of sense. You're doing that in the space of 10, 15 seconds because it's going from one extreme to the other. And to me, that's not accidental, because what it's doing is associating one with the other. So if you think, I'm anti-system, I want to get out the matrix, I want to be self-sufficient, well, you must be a misogynistic, far-right homophobe then. It's creating that association in people's minds. And as I say, these things don't happen organically and they don't happen by accident. If people like this were genuinely threatening the system, they'd be easy to shut down. Because, you know, look at me, I'm sat here recording this in the corner of a bedroom. I'm not sat in Dubai with a Lamborghini and 7 models on my arm, or a penthouse apartment in Miami, like all these people seem to be, bringing in hundreds of thousands of pounds and dollars every single day, every single week, every single month, flying around the world in private jets. Those two things don't add up. If you look at the people that have been talking about this information, been exposing this for a long period of time, that are actually well researched, none of them live that lifestyle, because you don't get that. You get censorship, you get shut down, you get banned from countries, you get aggressively targeted, you get media blackouts. I mean, these people are on the media all the time. You get attacks on your ability to earn an income. That's how they censor these people. So if you're watching somebody going around the world, flying privately with millions and millions of followers and millions of likes and pounds and Lamborghinis and Ferraris and Dubai apartments, that doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't add up. Especially then when you add to it everything I've described about how I think they are being used, whether they know it or whether they don't. Some, I would suggest, definitely do. Some are maybe just prime chancers who have jumped on a bandwagon. They are being used to bring about a certain outcome and a certain association in people's minds of anybody that questions the system must be a very unpleasant piece of work. So I watched the documentary and left not really thinking any more than I already thought in terms of the character of those particular individuals in it. But it certainly made me think, you're connecting one with the other to discredit what you don't want people researching. And these sort of things do not happen by accident. And as I said, Louis Theroux, for me, is a system as they come. So if he's leading this documentary and he's putting this out there and Netflix are putting it out there, they're doing it to create a certain outcome in people's minds. And the fallout of this is more and more people that question the reality, question conspiracies, will be associated with those types of individuals and that type of behavior. Well, that's not all of us, to say the least. The vast majority of people that question reality have contempt for individuals like that. Certainly not in the numbers. that they are alluding to in terms of the support that they have. Well, that's my little review of Manosphere for what it was worth. Hope you got something from it. If you haven't watched the documentary, I'd urge you to, because it is a very interesting watch, just to get into the psychology of certain people. And when you remove empathy and compassion, as some of them clearly have, you really don't have any scruples about what you do. And if money is your sole motivation, again, I watched this with my wife last night and was saying, if you wanted to be rich, it ain't hard, is it? If you've got no morals and you're prepared to do whatever, and clearly some of these people are.